Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have two guests that will be sharing one of their past projects. We will let you decide if it was good or bad or just plain ugly. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is the biggest mistake you can make as a real estate investor. I know that sounds a bit dramatic, but truly the biggest mistake you can make as a real estate investor is to pay too much for a property. One of my coaches used to say, you make your money when you buy the property. In today's market, this is so important. From mid-2020 to the start of 2022, real estate prices were skyrocketing and everyone made a profit. Now we are back to reality and investors can no longer ride those coattails. I like to use the formula ARV times 0.75 minus repairs equals Mayo. That's after repair value times 0.75 minus the repair costs equals your maximum allowable offer. That 0.75 represents 25% of the ARV, which includes your holding costs, closing costs, profit, and more. If you want to be conservative, you may want to multiply it by 0.70 to give you a 30% buffer. So if you are getting ready to put an offer on a property, watch those numbers so you don't end up paying too much for a property. Now on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us superstar duo, Michael Santos and Grace Kuo. They are a husband and wife team from Glendora, California, and own MWGM Properties. They began their real estate investment journey in 2021 after joining HomeSchooled by Tarek. Michael is a nurse working in a mental health facility, and Grace is a licensed marriage and family therapist, and their only real estate experience up until then was buying and selling their two primary residences. Since starting MWGM Properties, they've flipped 2 properties in Oregon and are now shifting their focus to short-term and mid-term rentals. On this episode, we get to hear about one of those long-distance flips. So welcome to the show, Michael and Grace.
Hi, Jen. Thanks for having us.
Hello. I am so excited to hear about this. Mainly because you learned most everything from HomeSchooled by Tarek, and you had Coach Jeff, correct?
Yes.
And he is awesome. And I'm sure you guys did a great job on this, but once you get in, it's like, whoa, there's so much to learn. It can be overwhelming. But before we get into this project, what drew you all to real estate?
That's
a lot of HGTV.
Oh my goodness. I was addicted. Yes, I get that.
Yeah. But for us, we really wanted to, we hear about people, having passive income and that financial freedom. And we really just saw other people doing it and said, why can't we do it? And how do we learn how to be in that position?
And what you did is what many people don't do, and they don't invest in themselves and get an education. They watch the flipping shows and they just dive right in and then make mistake after mistake after mistake. So bravo to you both for investing in your education. That is fantastic. And did you enjoy the program?
Oh yeah, it's been great. I mean, we completed our program in October 2021, and we signed up for a lifetime because we still want to be part of this group. This
Yeah.
community has been amazing.
And we learned so much, like even, like having Coach Jen on there and learning about short-term rentals that really we got to open our eyes to the possibilities.
And I see you guys are now getting into short-term and midterm. And are those going to be out of state as well?
Yes, we have 3 properties. We just closed on our third one yesterday.
Nice.
All in South Bend, Indiana.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
Oregon and Indiana.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
For some reason, we keep going out of state.
Yeah.
And out of state, it just scares me. I just bought a property. Our most recent purchase is out of state as well. But we have a property manager, excuse me, and she is a total badass. I love her and is running everything, which is really hard for me to let go of control. So I can't wait to dive in. Let's hear about this property. Is this the first one or the second one that you did?
This was our first one.
All right, perfect. I bet you learned a lot.
So many,
Yeah.
and many mistakes to not repeat.
Very, very expensive lessons
Yes.
that we learned.
All right. So tell me about the property. How many beds and baths? What year it was built? Anything special about the location?
Yeah, so it's in Eugene, Oregon.
Okay.
It was a 2-story, 2,500 square foot home that was built on top of a hill. It's a 4-bed, 2.5 bath, and it had 2 bathrooms that on the first floor that were connected by a shower. So they had a shared shower.
But 2 separate toilets.
Yeah, 2 separate toilets, 2 separate entrances.
It's like what do they call that? Hollywood? It's not a Jack and Jill. It's like a Hollywood. Anyway, there's some special name for it. But let me back up a second. Michael and Grace, you all live in Glendora, California. How did you find this property in Oregon?
Yeah, so before we used to live in Oregon. We lived in Oregon for 5 years.
Okay.
And so we moved back to California in 2020. And, this house that we purchased, it was in the same city that we lived in. So we're very familiar with the area. And so we were confident in purchasing a property out of state because of that.
Yeah. And we got it through our agent, who was the one that helped us sell our house when we were moving to California. So when we started investing, we just connected with him, and this also happened to be his listing.
Ooh, double commissions for him. Perfect. Very nice. So I always get scared when I have brand new people who want to buy out of state. So what would you recommend to someone just starting out? I mean, California, hello, your prices are ridiculous out there. So it does make a lot of sense for other people to buy out of state if what's around you is really expensive. So what advice do you have for people who are just starting and then want to buy out of state?
So that's a good question. For us, the way that we've been researching houses out of state is by reaching out to real estate agents who are familiar with the area. They let us know what neighborhoods are good, what are bad, what are good for flipping, for how people who are trying to buy houses to live in or for rental.
And then also a lot of Google Street View that they can do on their own.
Yeah.
Go beyond the street. That's what we do, is look beyond the street in the neighborhoods, research the school districts. Also calling the local police stations, a good way to get crime, and ask them, where do you visit a lot? Where would you stay away from? So those are good ways that you can research without having to be there.
Grace, that's a great nugget. I love that one. So what was the asking price and what was the purchase price for this property? Because we know they're not always the same.
Right. So once again, our agent was also representing the seller. They were originally asking $499. And what the situation was that the seller actually had this property under contract and the buyer pulled out.
Because that never happens.
Yeah. Unfortunate for them, fortunate for us. And so the seller is in a desperate situation. They wanted to get rid of the property as soon as they can. And so we came in at $435.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And we weren't sure. And we explained the situation with our agent, which was important giving him background information on why we were purchasing at that price, not just because we wanted to give a low price. And then also, helping him feel equipped to explain this to the seller on why that is. And then also finding out from the agent, what's the seller's incentive and how can we work with him, even if we can't get him the price that he's wanting.
And that's so important because so many real estate investors, they just throw out a number and and then realtors and other sellers, they're like, ugh, it's just another real estate investor lowballing the offer. So that is very, very smart to give them reasons why. So what was the estimated ARV at time of purchase, the after repair value?
So we were looking at 680 to 700K.
Sheesh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was based on the homes that we saw selling. This was during the hot market time, but we saw homes selling up to 750, even to 800. Oh, so we were conservative looking at the last 6 months and what was within that specific neighborhood.
So smart. And what were the repairs? So what did you tell this realtor and say, this is why we're offering 435? What were the repairs in the beginning?
Yeah, so for the repaired, I mean, the house is very outdated. It was in the 1950s, I believe, the house was built, and there hadn't been any updates. So there had been, the kitchen needs to be updated, the flooring, the bathroom. It's basically just a huge cosmetic upgrade.
There were also some leaks. This home was really beautiful. It had, I don't know what you call it, but there's these big glass windows.
A solarium.
Yeah, solarium. And there were cracks in the windows and the glass that the owner was older, so they never got around to fixing it. There were some leaks. I think there were some incompleted projects as well. So a lot of home buyers that went through saw it and, they didn't want to complete it, or they just saw it as a big task. And so that's kind of where we explained this is all the things that we would need to do to fix it up.
So smart. And by catching a seller at a time where they just had an offer back out, number one, awesome place to be. Okay. And then number two, being educated enough to go in and see what has to be done. Did you guys even walk the property?
No, we did not.
Oh my God.
We had our realtor do a FaceTime to walk us through the property.
Yeah, and he was very great and patient in doing a lot of video and looking at all the nooks and crannies for us. And eventually, when we did get a contractor, we also had him walk through and do a check.
Perfect. All right. Great starting off on this project. Awesome. So another concern for new people getting into this industry, how did you finance this deal?
So we went through a hard money lender.
Okay. And do you remember what interest you paid, if there were any points that you had to pay?
Yeah. So Grace here is by far one of the best person to interview hard money lenders. I don't know how many we interviewed.
Maybe probably 5 in one day.
Yeah.
And so we did have our numbers, and we sent out a presentation, and I called some local hard money lenders and got their points. And then I honestly just Googled hard money lenders and started calling to see which ones would fit for us who lent in Oregon. And then we came across a lender in Texas that they were able to compete and get us the interest rate that worked for us. They gave us
9%.
Yeah,
8.99%.
Okay, good.
1.5 points.
How many points?
1.5.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, for no experience.
For no experience at all. But like I said, Grace is so good at, she sounds like a pro. She sounds like she's been doing this forever.
We just had to really sell them on, I think, having our budget ready. Yeah. And then also that, we're going to look for more deals and, building the rapport with them and getting their business so that they feel like, hey, they're going to be a part of something big and exciting.
Right. And Grace, what are some of the questions you ask them when you're interviewing them?
I honestly, I'm a straight shooter. So I do the quick rapport building and then I go, okay, let's get down to the numbers. This is what I got from people. I don't want to play around and go back and forth. I'm not going to try and pit you against the other person. So I just approach it very transparent with the numbers, let them know what the dates are. When we're closing, I give them all the things up front and just go, kind of like when you're going to get a car, I just go, what's the best you can give me?
Very good.
Rather than giving them a number.
And I love that because a lot of people think, they're helping you out, and no, they're making money off you. And so another question, by the way, is did you have a second position or did you use your own money?
For this one, we used our own, and that was a journey itself initially because we were going to use our HELOC, and it actually didn't approve or fund into until after 2 days we closed. So we initially had a family member, luckily, was able to jump in and basically do a gap funding for 2 days. And so
goodness.
we were with that.
And when I talk about interviewing hard money lenders, that's one of the main questions I ask them is, do you allow second positions? Because I work with a lot of private money lenders who like that smaller gap funding. And when I'm interviewing them, I say, well, do you allow second positions? And they're like, well, no, we want you to have a little skin in the game. I hate that. I'm like, well, it looks like you're not going to be a good fit for me because I have a lot of private money lenders where I've got to park their money somewhere. So I guess you're just not going to be a good fit. And they're like, well, hold on. So good for you, Grace, for talking through that and really making it worth their benefit as well. Hi, it's Jen. I'm sorry for the interruption, but I've got to tell you about this event called Re-Up. It is coming up soon, March 11th and 12th, 2023, where you can hang with some of the top real estate investors in the country. And by the way, they have a superstar lineup of speakers, myself included. So go today, buy your tickets at reupmeetup.com. That's REUP meetup.com. I hope to see you there. So what was your original hold time or rehab time?
So we ultimately planned for about 3 months.
Okay.
Rehab.
For the rehab.
Okay.
Yeah. We went under contract, or we closed in October. We were expecting the rehab to be done in early January for us to list it. Mm-hmm. So that was our expectation in the beginning.
Yeah. Right. Our rookie mistake being very ambitious. I was thinking 4 months total, 3 months rehab. We'll get it under contract and sell it on the 4th month and when we close.
Yeah.
All right. So during rehab, by the way, did you ever visit this property?
Oh yeah, we did.
Okay.
The moment it closed, we bought a plane ticket and we went to look at it. But because it was our first property, it was like our first baby.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
So were there any surprises along the way? I love this question.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of expensive surprises.
Okay, so what happened?
I mean, once again, there's a lot of quirks about this property. The one thing I didn't get to say was there was a sunroom that was built. It used to be originally like the deck of the house in the backyard, but it became enclosed, so it became like part of the square footage. So it was a sunroom, and I called it a suicide room for the fact that there was no windows, but they were actually all sliding doors that led to nowhere but a 10-foot drop to the concrete slab in the backyard.
Yeah, it was 2 sets of sliding glass doors.
Three sets of sliding doors.
Yeah, like towards the backyard. So envision walking out to a sunroom. There's nothing on the other side. And that was it.
Yeah, because our backyard was on a slope. And so you had to go down the stairs to hit the backyard because it was built on a hill. The other issues were we had foundation possible issues. Mm-hmm. And what else do we have?
We were worried about the roof.
Yes.
If that was going to need to be replaced. But luckily we had a roofing contractor look at it and a structural engineer look at the foundation. So luckily it was all okay. So that was something we did.
Yeah. And then the other situation was we're trying to figure out how to turn that shared shower bathrooms into two separate bathrooms.
Okay.
And yeah, that was something that I guess we didn't fully estimate correctly how much that would cost.
Yeah. And also the square footage. You don't realize, when you're finishing the bathroom and all the, once the drywall's in and the framing, how much extra square footage that kind of might take up.
Yeah.
And how did you even find contractors for this? I mean, I know you used to live there, so I'm guessing you have people you're connected to that can help you out locally?
Nope.
No.
Good old Google on the Better Business Bureau. I called the first
Craigslist,
person. Yeah. I called the first person on the list, interviewed him, and asked him about his experience, got a good feel, and then we did another project after with him.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And has it worked out well with this contractor?
Yes, he's been amazing.
Very good. Yeah. All right. So you had a projected timeline of October, being done by January, and then sold within a month. And what was your actual timeline?
It wasn't too bad. So it took a couple weeks longer. So we were still able to list by the end of January.
Good.
So it wasn't that bad. The only issues were we underestimated for plumbing, underestimated for electrical, and those were just surprises that we corrected.
We also had a delay on the glass for the solarium. That was delayed. There was a glass shortage, apparently, and that was delayed, I think, for about 2 months.
About 2 months, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, feel good about that because during this time at the beginning of 2021, that's when this happened, correct?
Yes.
Okay. It took me 5.5 months to get windows for one of our properties.
Wow.
Oh, so be thankful for the 2 months. Yeah, it was a crazy time. So yes, I do know you're paying on that. And how many days? Well, let's go back to the price here. So you originally thought from $680 to $700. What did you end up listing it for?
So this was something that was another lesson that we learned. So our realtor basically gave out numbers that sound really good.
So let's back up for this guy's getting 3 commissions off this property from the seller to you, the buyer, and now he's selling it again for you. Wow.
Yes.
This guy's pretty smart. Okay.
He's a lucky man. Yes, he is.
All right. So what did you, I'm sorry, I cut you off, but finish your story there.
Yeah. So like I said, our goal was 700,000. And he brought up numbers like 720, 750. Oof. And so we were like, oh, 750 sounds amazing. Let's go, so.
Yeah, we were like, let's test it out.
Yeah, let's test it out. So we listed the property at 750. And also just another thing about this house with that, because of the glass shortage, we listed the property not having the glass installed yet. So we had to put, like a little note on the MLS saying that it will be installed before closing.
Right.
So yeah, we listed at 750, and
we had a lot of interest the first weekend. I think like a showing that day, but then we didn't get any offers or any submitted offers like the first couple days and week.
Yes.
So then we were like, a little worried as soon as
oh shit.
Yeah, you're like, oh, are we gonna sell this? So
yeah, we can cuss on the show. Fuck. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly,
we're like,
Michael.
A livelihood.
Yeah.
And so we had a game plan to think about, okay, maybe we need to drop the price a bit.
Yeah. So we dropped it to 720, I believe, the following week.
Yeah, the following week. And then
we got a little bit more interest, still no offers. And then we listed to 700.
Okay.
That's what our original intention. And we definitely felt like that was a huge mistake starting at 750 for the fact that, once again, we didn't feel like it was 750 at that moment, especially since people who, California and Oregon, totally different. Right. 750 in California will get you a nice shed. where in Oregon you can get, almost like a mansion, like a mini mansion. And so we're dealing with different buyers.
Yeah, we had to shift our like idea of the market. And so yeah, we had to drop it. Actually we dropped it to like 699
Smart.
to try and get that 700 mark.
Yeah.
And then we ended up getting a couple offers, I think right around like 675.
We had a couple that were like 630,
Yeah.
which was automatic rejection because that didn't work for us.
But the one that we got at 675, we actually countered. And the one that ended up being the buyer, it was literally just someone who drove by, saw the for sale sign, and they happened to also be selling their home and needed a place like yesterday. And she got a showing, I think that next day with her family. It was a big family with lots of kids.
Tell me she didn't call the sign and get your realtor to represent her.
She didn't.
Okay. I was going to say, like, that'd be 4 commissions for that guy. Anyway.
I know. Yeah, that would have been great for him. But
he loves you, I'm sure.
He did. He worked it out on the next one.
Yeah.
So that one came in clutch.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, by the way, did you stage the property?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Because, in these times, like, especially now, I mean, this was in 2021, it was a little different, but I mean, I tell people just what you're saying, and I think we give the same recommendation, is to list it a little bit under what you are really hoping for. But I just tell people to stage and make it very emotionally, like when people walk in, they become emotionally attached to it. And then they're going to get into a bidding war. Because they love it so much. It's such a great price and they don't want it slipping out of their fingers. And that 699 number is so smart too, because when people are searching properties, that their budget may be 675 to 699. Like that's a drop down number that they can pick when they're searching properties. And so by doing like 700 or 705 or whatever, you're missing those people who are just under 700. So super smart to put it at 699. All right. And by the way, I didn't even ask you, what was your repair budget?
So we originally had it at 90,000.
Okay. And what did you end up spending?
Just a little over at 118,000.
That's not bad at all.
Really? No, that's
really, I had a panic attack.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't even want to go like $1,000 over, which I know like all of our coaches said it will go over.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's when you get in it and they take down a wall or something, there's always, because you said you had a budget more for plumbing and for electrical. So I'm sure they, uncovered some of these things. So really that's not bad. I've gone 100,000 over our original.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That makes us feel
Oh my gosh.
don't feel bad at all. So it was actually probably closer to 125. Yeah. It got insane. So, all right, this is all great. So your estimated repairs were 90, you went about 118, and what did you end up? Well, let me keep going. So you have your interest, your actual repairs, we already talked about. Do you remember what your holding cost commissions and all those extra costs in there?
So we spent for like holding cost about $1,700 in holding. Our commission was about 41,000.
Yeah.
Yep. He made a lot of money off of us.
So what was your, and then what?
Oh, I'm sorry. And then clothing costs about 20,000.
20,000. And what was your final sale price?
690.
Okay. That's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Because your original was between 680 and 700. So boom, right there, right smack dab down the center. And what was your total profit?
So after everything said and done, about 65,000.
Good for you all. Excellent. Let me give you some of this. Cha-ching on that. Very good. And then you went in and ended up buying another project. You got the bug and you kept going. I am so very proud of you all. Great, great job on it. Any advice that you have for people just starting out after this experience?
Ooh.
I would say like if they're starting out or thinking about it, don't think about it too long. Like you just need to pull the plug. I mean,
Take
don't do
action.
it blindly.
Yes.
Yeah, don't do it blindly, but get your info, but don't sit on your hands too long. And it's difficult, but you just have to commit. I mean, there were times where I literally thought, why did I get into this? I want to return this home.
Yeah.
But
there were many times where our marriage was in jeopardy.
And so what you're talking about is analysis paralysis, is to kind of avoid it and not overthink everything and just bite the bullet and go for it. I love that. But you also had a coach on your side. You had a whole team of people to help you when you needed, when you had questions. You had this community online through HomeSchooled by Tarek. So, really great to lean on people. So after finishing this first project, how do you change all your other projects from now on?
I honestly, that's a good question because even though we've learned a lot from this, we're still making some mistakes. That's just part of the game. But the one thing that I feel we've learned so much from is just we underestimated the repair, and so now we're more overestimating so that nothing can surprise us. It still surprises us, unfortunately. Like we're still like the current property that we're working on. We thought we overestimated, and nope, we are underestimating everything again. So, yeah, that's the one lesson that I feel like.
yeah, and I think the main thing also is just like, maintaining your network. Like you said, having a team of coaches and other investors and people who, are doing what you're doing and supporting you. It keeps you motivated and keeps you accountable of all of the things that you're working on.
So, Michael and Grace, this is fantastic. I really appreciate you sharing this on the show. Great job. Congratulations. The second half of the podcast is what makes you two badasses, which you are. And I use the acronym BADASS. And the first one is B for book. What's a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
You can go first.
And you're not a reader, right?
Huh?
You're not a reader, Grace?
I'm not, but I would say my limited books are impactful. Mine, I have to be like almost like the the stereotype with Brene Brown because I'm a therapist.
Oh.
The one that really made an impact for me was her, I think it was a newer book, Rising Strong.
Yes.
And I think that she talks a lot about vulnerability, and that's, her big research and focus. But I really applied that into our work in our business. Jumping into investing, owning your own business, putting yourself out there is really being vulnerable, and, how to be courageous in that. And so I took a lot from that.
I love Brene Brown. She is awesome.
Yeah, she's a badass.
She is a badass. All right, Michael, what is a book that's made a difference in your life?
Yeah, so mine definitely is not a motivational book or something that real estate investors would read, but mine is Misery by Stephen King. And the reason why is because growing up, I was never a book reader. I was TV, video game. And so I decided to pick up this book that was recommended to me by a high school teacher, Misery. And I just got so into it, and that got me into reading more books. And so it was just the beginning of me actually picking up a book in general.
Well,
so
I was just going to say, I'm reading a Stephen King book right now. I rarely read like storybooks, but I picked it up in the airport, actually to California, and it is Dr. Sleep. So that's, I guess, yes, the sequel to The Shining. But I'm actually reading that right now. And I just saw that the movie came out in 2019. I had no idea. So I know where I can find it. I'm like, oh, I got to wait to finish the book. But yes, I agree. Getting into having a book like that. Yes, reading is so important. Very, very good. All right. The first A in Badass is advice. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Mine was, I guess, kind of a more recent from Rye Guy.
Rye Guy, Mr. Ryan Burke. We love him.
Oh, he had so many good nuggets. And this one really stood out when we started. And I really, really apply this, from the beginning and now, is to surround yourself and only listen to those who are doing what you're trying to do and succeeding at it. Don't take advice from those who are not in it. and have no idea what they're talking about, because it's only going to demotivate you and put you down.
So well said. And did you run into any situations like that?
Yeah, from personal, like family, friends, but also even, real estate agents, contractors, people that don't have anything or knowledge about investing. And for me as a woman, like trying to mansplain things to me. So I've just really taken it to heart of, your opinion doesn't matter.
Very good. All right, Michael, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
So this one actually happened when I was in college. I went to college originally for kinesiology, and I was in Cal Poly Pomona. And I had a professor, his name is Don Morris. He lived in Yosemite Park.
Oh, wow.
So from Cal Poly Pomona to Yosemite Park is about 5.5 hours. So he would drive 5.5 hours to teach this one class every Tuesday and Thursday called Intro to Business. And, of course, the point of the class is to teach, the basics of business, but it became a class that teaches you like life lessons. And that's the class that I look forward to the most when I was in Cal Poly. And there were so many things that he said, but the one thing that, if I paraphrase it, is that you're solely responsible for your success or your lack of success. So basically, you are responsible for yourself. And that one I took to heart because, at that time, I felt like if I failed, I have someone who will make it up for me, or someone I can, my safety net, or at that time, I just didn't realize that ultimately I'm responsible for my life.
Well, very well said. Both of those are great advice. All right. The D in badass is drive. What drives you two to be successful?
Ooh.
Money.
Yes.
Money.
Our dogs.
Our two dogs who are.
Okay, let's talk about your dogs, because I had to ask you what the MWGM stood for, and it's actually your dog's name. But we came up with a better logo, which we're going to say in a second. But tell us about your dogs, and they both have jobs in your business. So tell the listeners.
So Mochi, who is our husky, our firstborn baby, he is the marketing department.
Excellent.
And then Wobbles, who is our corgi, he is our HR department. And so they make up the M and the W in MWGM properties.
Yes.
And of course, me being nosy, I was like, what does that stand for? But what did we come up with?
Money will make
money will get
money will get more houses.
No, money will get more properties.
Money will get more properties. MWGM.
Yes.
Amazing.
All right. I'll take 5% of everything that you guys do from now on, just for giving you that. Just kidding. All right. So what drives you all to be successful?
Ultimately, it's financial freedom.
Mm-hmm.
We are still doing our W-2 jobs along with real estate investment on the side, even though it is a full-time job for us. If we're not working on our W-2 jobs, we are calling our GCs, we are looking for more properties and things like that. So ultimately, we see this as our way of getting rid of our W-2 and making our real estate our full-time.
Yeah, which is really like valuing our time, which is the drive, is really putting the best use of our time. So the more time that we have, we can give to other people. We can spend more time doing the things that we want ultimately, and being able to give that to others. When we're strapped, we can't be our best selves and do those things. And that's ultimately where we want to be.
Yeah. And lastly, our two properties that we flipped in Oregon, when we first got into this, we were always thinking about how we can make our neighborhood, better, how we can, help people who are looking for their house, their first home, or, get a better living situation. And, when we saw who purchased our first home, we saw it was a big family. We had security cameras, on all our properties, because we always want to see if someone's trying to break in, or want to see like if our GT is there, just kind of
right,
just making sure, right? And when we saw this big family who ultimately ended up buying the house, we saw like the kids getting super excited that they're going to be living here. That made it up for me. And in our second property that we sold, we saw that it was a first time home buyer. We saw like, they're getting their first home, and it was a lovely home to start off with. I never had a house growing up. So to see that was amazing as well.
And both your W-2s, I mean, you're a nurse and you're a licensed therapist, and those have got to be really rewarding too. And to be able to transfer that into real estate, because a lot of times people think real estate investors, they just want money, they cut corners, they do this and that. But you wear a superhero's cape at time, because you are providing such a safe home, a well, renovated home for those first-time home buyers, for that big family. And so, listeners, real estate investing can be such a rewarding experience, and enough for you all to give up what you're doing in your W-2. So bravo to both of you. Great job. All right. The second A in badass is aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So, and we're starting a new year here. So what's a goal you all are currently working on?
Professionally or personally?
Whatever. Let's hear it all.
Professionally. So once again, we are now diving into the short-term, midterm game.
So fun. It's my favorite.
Yeah, oh my gosh. I've lost so much hair, but it's totally worth it. And so our goal is, we actually did it a few months ago. We want to have by this year, or by the end of next year, about 12 doors. 12 doors.
Good.
Just set a small goal. It's attainable. And how many flips?
We want to get at least, I think we said at least 4.
At least 4.
4
Good.
flips.
Yeah.
And then we also are, since we're both in mental health in the health field, we were interested in getting into either like an assisted living or actually like a mental health, like kind of residential facility program, and combining that with real estate.
So wonderful. Thank you both for that. All right. The first S in badass is systems. What systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
One of the systems I would say is just having our roles. And so defining, although we're husband and wife, like really defining who does what and having a workflow system. So what we actually did recently is actually sit down and talk about, okay, marketing, what are the steps here and how we would do this? Bookkeeping, who does this? What are the systems for that? And so having the roles within the business in place. We have a system for setting our goals and kind of how often we check in, where we write it, how we time block it, and systems for, contractors and all of those. So we've really systemized almost every aspect.
This all happened last night.
But
we all had to sit down. Yeah.
You are so funny. But you're running, you're both working full-time jobs. So you have to have systems in place, and defining roles is so very important. That's a lot that when I'm working with students, we actually go through it, and I have it broken down, but it's so different for each team, so like we are transitioning more into rentals right now. I do not want to do any more single family home flips for the next year or two. We just want to grow our rental portfolio, but like short-term rentals, all me. I do all the communications. Where Vance, my husband, he does everything on the budget side, the money side, but he also deals with the contractors. So it is so important. And in the future, when things start shifting, sometimes you have to swap roles, and someone will take, because when I first started the business, I was able to quit my job first. Vance, my husband, he continued working his job. So I did all the property management. And then when I started coaching, he took over more of the property management project manage is what I'm trying to say. And it was really hard for me to let go of some of those things. But once you decide, stay in your own lane. And that's so, so important. Great for you all to do that. I'm sure Jeff had a hand in that, and excellent coaching on his behalf. Bravo to Coach Jeff on that. All right, to wrap this up, the final S in badass with my two badasses from California here is success. What does success mean to you two?
Yeah, once again, success for us is financial freedom. That's something that, I believe everyone wants to strive for. We want to have time to, go on vacation whenever we want to, not have to use my sick days, or ask for permission to take a vacation.
Yes.
We want to have a bigger house with a bigger backyard for our dogs. We want to get our first of many Lamborghinis. It's just things like that. But it also, once again, for me, is something that I never thought that I would be in this position where I can possibly retire early. I grew up in a family where we work hard, 9-to-5 day job, up until we retire in the 60s. That's how I grew up. That's what I thought was how life is supposed to be. And these past 2 years have totally changed my mindset.
Yeah. For me, in the words of this comedian, Ali Wong, is when I can see a quarter on the floor and not feel the need to pick it up. But really, in seriousness, it's, with the financial freedom, it's like freedom to be able to help people, whether it's family, and to help those around you get better. Like we talk about improving the neighborhood, having the ability to actually improve the street, improve the corridor, help out family and friends, help out other investors, and be able to build that. To me, that freedom is success.
Well,
ultimately, I want to be a coach. That's what I want to do. I want to be someone I want to be in your position, Jen.
Excellent.
That's what I want to do.
Well,
yeah.
I will share that information. And you two are fantastic. You're dog lovers like me. I don't have any children. I will only have dogs. I'm allergic to children. So I totally connect with you with the whole dog thing. But just wanting to give back to the community, doing what's right. You guys are starting off fantastic. Wait till you get into that short-term industry. There's so much money to be had there. I just can't wait to hear about it. I'd love to get you guys back on the show once you get your Airbnb, or your short-term rentals up and running, and to learn about those. You all are fantastic. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I know the listeners don't see this, but I'm wearing a tux just for you. Dressed up, and
I'm wearing a ball gown just for Jen. Thank you so much for having us.
Well, thank you. And that is all. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.